Alright guys, welcome back. We're continuing our Great Ace Attorney Chronicles playthrough. Let's, So we're in episode 2. And we just spoke to Susato. Susato-san. This is the first time they're introducing the look around, the examination component of this game. This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat whenever he was writing. And unfortunately, the assistant guy of Ryunosuke died. London Diary. Poor Kazuma. He didn't even make it to his destination. It looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means... what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue. Hiya! That's out of the question. What? Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts. But what if something's important? Something relevant to the case? Alright. I won't read it. Oh, I definitely wish we could read it. Poor Kazuma-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either. But in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Oh dear, that won't do. Oh? What's the matter, Susato-san? Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused I forget to look around properly. Ah, yes, that's not good. I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? I'm sure you're careful to... Okay, how do I skip this? Now let's investigate all corners of this cabin. Yes, let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. Alright, we definitely need to get this sword. That's Kazuma-sama's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it. Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. I suppose that shows just how important it was. And now he's gone. I'm not ready to let his spirit go yet. Okay. Well, that's helpful. It has a little check mark. Oh, wait. No. Don't send me through this thing again. I wonder if there's just like a skip the whole thing button. Wow, I even have to go through this again. Let me check the settings. Maybe not. Reader? No, that's story mode. Hold up. Alright. Text skip on. Yeah. I mean, that's about all I can do. Okay. Alright. Has the check mark now. So this whole thing is checked. We definitely want to check the writing. Did Kazuma write that before he died? What's interesting to me about this is that it's written in Russian, and I doubt Kazuma knew how to write in Russian. Looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. This kind of gives me flashbacks to one Phoenix Wright case where somebody writes a person's name on the ground. I think it's in number 2. I don't remember. But I actually only saw that because of from the anime of Phoenix Wright, which you know, takes cases from the game, so that's cool. Okay. Yeah, he must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Oh, didn't have this. I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the spillage. Maybe I should look up what it means with Google Translate, but that would be kind of cheating, wouldn't it? No doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it. I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of a clue in his final moments, was he? I'm sorry, partner, but I can't read your writing. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruhodo-san. What? Then what language is it? It pains me to admit it, but I don't know. It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. I wonder if we can ask this guy. How do we go to the thing back? Convert. No. I wonder if we can ask that Russian guy to read it. Perhaps I should see what this Russian crewman makes of the scene of the crime. Okay, here we go. Excuse me. What? I was wondering how it's going. The investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes. But it's not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking investigator for information about his crime? Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke. He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty. You might have useful information, though. I have to keep trying. So, last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Niet! Of course not! Now back to corner of room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. Alright. Alright. This is here. There's a knife here on the floor. This is... Yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which can pull to ring a bell to summon. Really? That sounds almost magical. Shall we give it a little try? Yes! In the interest of cultural research, obviously. Let's see. I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people. No, I'm sure it's just that everyone's busy, that's all. Alright. We got a statue over here. The books have fallen over on the shelf. Look, they've all toppled the same way. And what's this? A statue of some god of the sea? Although he's fallen over as well. Yeah, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked. I wonder if... Perhaps it was Kazuma-sama doing his morning sword training, do you think? I seriously doubt it. Then perhaps... it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage. I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case? I wonder. Well, I just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess. Alright. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Buria. It's essentially a list of requests from the captain to all passengers on board. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. Are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? I can't decide. Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. Okay. What's this? What do you think this is? Looks like a broken piece of glassware. Whatever the thing was, it appears to have broken clean in two. The glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little Netsuke fastener from a kimono. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him, would he? And the mark beside it, what is it, I wonder? It has a sort of brick-like lure. Yeah, you're right. It is the color of brick, isn't it? Even though I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in this cabin. Okay. Yeah, that's not... It's some 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh, no? I suppose not. Although it must have been rather exciting making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. And last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. Okay. Let's, oh, no, 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 no. That was an accident. Oh, so if I hold escape, it does, it exponentially speeds up. I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. Okay, this could be really important here. Because you heard Herlock Sholmes at the beginning of this case say this is a locked room mystery. Meaning the crime had to have occurred. The fact that it occurred inside of a locked room gives certain limitations as to who did it, what they could have used, how they got out. So, you know, it really narrows down certain possibilities and rules out certain possibilities. But the fact that there's some kind of secret passage up here, if you will, is really important if you're in a locked room mystery. I think there's some kind of hole through which fresh air. Okay, isn't that a little odd? What do you mean? Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air in the room, surely it should be connected to the outside. That's true. Perhaps it's so that rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough, or something like that. I suppose. Maybe that's it. What? Who's that? He wasn't there a minute ago. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European. Oh, how did he... You've noticed a man too, have you? I have no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious and tall. Suspiciously tall. Narugodo-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is? Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. Doesn't look like a member of the crew. Something very unusual about him. And is he investigating Kazuma's desk, or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him. Am I just imagining it, or does Susato-san look almost uncontrollably excited? By the way, I expect that you've noticed already, but just in case, if you press space on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Alright then, I'll get the suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Oh, please do. Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. Do you have a moment? Shh! This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Greetings! I hope I haven't... Ah! What exactly were you doing on Kazuma's desk just now? Ah, I see. Fascinating. Sorry? What do you see? Feels like he's looking right through me. Oh, yes. Everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You I've been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh! Well, that's true, at least. But how? How the deuce did I know that, perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? But of course, a great many things. There's no mystery, my dear madam. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being as you are a merciless revolutionary. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake and now travel to England to blow up the... What did he say? What? The Crystal Tower. And when the beribboned occupant of this very cabin discovers your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, aren't you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? I don't even see one person who fits the bill. So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama. What? And you're plotting a revolution too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked. No, listen. There's no way Hiya! Now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary, obviously. Oh, forgive me. And as for you, what kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came into your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament, do you not? Well, yes, maybe. Ha! And there you have it, you see. What do you make of that, hmm? Well, to be honest, this ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed. An observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a... He's a little fast. With a brassy certitude. And more often than not, I'm right. Ha! I don't think you introduce yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I'm none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over. The inimitable Sherlock Holmes. Inimitable. So, it's really you, the actual Sherlock Holmes. The very same, the inimitable, actual Sherlock Holmes. Do you know this man, Tsudato-san? The most famous detective in the world? Naruhodo-san, of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him. What planet I've been living on, then? We must ask him what he deduced. We will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? Alright. There's more things to examine in here. At least a few more. Saigi. Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma. Yes, his calligraphy always was a reflection of his heart. Yet you... Can you really look at those characters without feeling the same? Knowing who drew them so thoughtfully? Of course I can! I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to? Even though you stowed away on this ship? Now you're going to bring that up, are you? I can't win. I've investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place. Okay, the other thing is this door, like the lock is kind of messed up. When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt had been firmly closed. It's quite a small bolt and not particularly sturdy. Just slides across to secure the door shut. But still, the door bolted, there would be no way to get in or out of the cabin. That's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense all up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel. The culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt across from... Wait, hold on. I was looking at something else. A needle and thread to draw a bolt across from outside the room in a situation like this. Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself. Wow, she has the book on her at this moment. But the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal, and they seal together perfectly. There would be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid. Then she stares back. When she glares at me like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Oh, okay. You already said that. I can't even click on this thing down here. I have to move the cursor. That's my dinner from last night. A roast chicken. It was really tasty. Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But, did you eat it on the floor here? I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate at the table, of course. Which begs the question of when and how the plate ended up on the floor. But Kazuma-sama didn't like the chicken at all, did he? No, that's right. So, he didn't touch it. Which meant all the more for me. No. Does that mean poor Kazuma-sama spent the last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible. Ugh, now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. There's nothing on this table at all. The plate and cutlery are all over the floor for some reason. Yes, it's strange. Last night when I went to sleep, I'm sure everything was still. No, wait a minute. What is it? That's funny. I can't seem to remember anything about what happened after dinner at all. So then perhaps you are responsible for what happened to Kazuma-sama. No. Yeah, I mean, that's all the stuff it's letting me look at. Yeah. Okay, so let's just talk now. Before we started talking, you were examining Kazuma's desk, weren't you? Kazuma? Ah, yes, the victim. Did you not notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. We see that the victim was engaged in penning some text. London diary. Kazuma was keeping notes of the trip. But I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic. And something you ought to perhaps elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it already? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Oh, I see. Well, you're about to know what Susato takedown is. See this double standard at work. Susato-san? Aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san. What on earth do you mean? Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return the matter at hand. Namely, this diary belonging to the victim. It would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Pray be precise as to details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering. Sayonara, bonsai, mikado, nado. I trust you are suitably impressed. But this diary is littered with complicated-looking characters of which I can read precisely none. So what was that all showing off about before then? If you would be so kind as to show me, I would be happy to read it to you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madam. The final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of just 2 short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray, go on. The second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? What on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I've never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring to the lattice there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. Kazuma's diary has been entered. Okay. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything? My dear fellow! Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him. When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all the crew members to force the cabin door open. And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great detective Sherlock Sholmes was on board. And the handcuffs seemed to be an excellent fit, Mr. Naruhodo. The very moment I laid eyes on the scene, two facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh, really? Two facts, you say? Mr. Sholmes, tell us, please. What two facts were apparent to you when you came into the cabin this morning? Ah, yes. But first, let us be precise. The two facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand. But what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The two facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number one, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. And number two, the victim was Russian and killed the following a dispute with an acquaintance. Hold on, Mr. Sholmes. What made you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. Is Sherlock Holmes a little bit silly? That is the Russian word for wardrobe. Do you really think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian? In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered garderobe maybe the name of a killer. A certain Robert Guard, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe, there at least. Oh man, I'm trying to stop it so I can read this stinking history. Where you found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly. Quite so. I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people. Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people? I had no idea. And I had no idea, Detective, it could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim in the message, that I might analyze it for a possible hidden detail. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Kazuma had already been taken away when I woke up. It's the first time I've actually seen him like this. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, thank you. I'm shook from, you know, that trauma. Can't imagine what that's like. You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all of that. Ah, yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Certainly, if it interests you. How many times I'm not Russian and I don't speak Russian? He said that because he said a Russian word. Can we talk about your deduction before? The things you concluded about me, I mean. The now famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in? Actually, it was the other details that I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and the assassin of 16 part? Ah, yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night, the young Russian was murdered. Since when was Kazuma a Russian? It sounds like Mr. Sholmes has concluded he was Russian because of what Kazuma-sama wrote on the floor. It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. One who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you, villain Bolshevik. No, 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 no. How could that be me? I don't look anything like this man. Just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learned to revolutionize your appearance as well. Ah, please. And I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower. Ah, yes. The journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about his revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake. Do revolutionaries usually agree to do interviews with newspaper reporters? I wonder. What about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik has recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it anyway? This Afghanistan place. Here, take the paper for yourself, as a little memento of this great deduction. Oh, thank you. I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back? Cast your eye over it sometime if the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it. But I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. Maybe there might be a picture or two. Just a quick side note. When this game was announced, my brother Alan, who's a Ace Attorney fanatic, he told me that this character's name was going to be Sherlock Sholmes. And I was like, why'd they... And both of us were talking like, why'd they call him Sherlock Sholmes if Sherlock is already a public domain character? Like, he's not owned by anyone, really, at this point. You can just freely use him, which is why, you know, the BBC can just make that Sherlock Holmes show with Benedict Cumberbatch, and there are Sherlock Holmes movies and stuff. But anyway, I think they went with a different name for this character because he's clearly inspired by Sherlock Holmes, but he has these quirky twists about him where he actually is kind of buffoonish at times. And I think the game is when it showed that anime cutscene at the beginning of this episode, you think, oh wow, you know, he really is like Sherlock Holmes, and he's pretty much just an unstoppable detective with his deduction and everything. Of course, Sherlock still being a quirky character in his own right, but here Sherlock is saying things that just aren't true, but just only some parts of the deduction work, and so Ryunosuke is like, bro, this guy's kind of an idiot. But Herlock Sholmes in this game is saying, no, you know, my deductions were fine. Didn't I say you were in a predicament? And then Ryunosuke is like, well, yeah, obviously. That's like not even a deduction. So anyway, that's kind of my rather long-winded way of saying I think I understand why they went with a different name for this character. He's inspired by Sherlock Holmes, but he clearly has... They wanted to take the character in a different direction and not be tied to a specific... that specific interpretation of Sherlock Holmes, but rather have a character that's almost like a spin-off version of him, or like a knockoff version of him. And I think that's cool because it allows for freedom with the character while also being able to rely on loosely the lore of Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, commentary concluded. Let's let me look at the court record because he gave me this. He said, "Look at the thing on the back." Probably this princess here, whoever this is. This is interesting. Have you found something relevant, Naruhodo-san? Well, no, I mean, it looks like it might be interesting. I can't read a single word, I'm afraid. No, nor can I. Look at this picture. Perhaps it's about a beautiful young Russian princess, do you think? She is very pretty, isn't she? I suppose you enjoy articles like this, do you? I don't know. I can't make any sense of it. Ah, I'm glad you've noticed this article. Ah. Allow me to give you a short summary of its contents. Oh, thank you. Pops up everywhere, this Mr. Sholmes. It's about the disappearance of a young lady last night. Renowned prima ballerina of a Novachich ballet disappears from Shanghai. During a performance in Shanghai, the famous dancer was reported missing. She is, of course, the talented young Nikolina Pavlova. Why are Russian names so hard to remember? It would appear the woman was in costume when she was found to be missing from her dressing room, wearing the diamond tiara you see pictured, which is worth some... Oh, how much is 20,000 rubes? I have no idea, but I'm quite sure it must be an unbelievable sum of money. Susato-san's eyes are shining like diamonds themselves. The tiara is property of Novachich Ballet. It would seem the director is... Yes, I'm not surprised. The company is most anxious to recover both Miss Pavlova and the valuable tiara. They've requested international assistance at all ports with sailings to Great Britain. Could this be another case of a Russian fleeing his or her country? It does seem to be the Russian thing to do. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Mr. Naruhodo. I guess he already explained everything. Yeah, only thing left here is this. I'm afraid I can't read a word of Russian. No, me neither. I have no idea what any of this says. The pair of you flounderings is a sorry sight. Allow me to offer some assistance. The article on the front page of this newspaper, concerned with fearsome Russian revolutionary. It reads, Revolutionary villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. Yes, you told us that before. It reveals also that those who see the man's beard with their own eyes never live to tell the tale. Oh, he is fearsome. Well, presumably the newspaper's photographer was alright, wasn't she? The solution is obvious, of course. If he despises his beard to that degree, he need only shave it off. I'm not quite sure what's the problem, Mr. Sholmes. Yeah, he's saying that because he is, he earlier said that I, Ryunosuke, am, Bolshevik. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh, there's no, like, yeah. Okay. So, you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what's your name again? Indeed, I am none other than the one and only Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I see. You're German? Hairlock? No, no, no. I have no hair. I mean, I have hair. Please, call me Holmes. You can read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Ah, yes, Ranced magazine. Full of wonderful short stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially. Ah, yes, here it is. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories, then? Indeed I am. And you've read so many of your own stories, you've started to think you really are a detective. Make no mistake, I'm not the poor deluded fellow you take me for. Your interference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer, do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson? I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, this very moment I'm returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. And deduction, you see, is to me a science. Logical reasoning in its purest form. A science? Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle of reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin, all these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from his data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? So you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction. And fame. That is what makes me the one and only Sherlock Holmes. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being at least. Ah, do you have somewhere to go? As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe. And if I'm still too long, the seasickness would... Oh, I suppose. You're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to? Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate, hence the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps that we could go with you? No, that would be somewhat complicated. What? Well, why? A simple glance at your wrist should reveal the answer. Oh, these. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter, no? There's no point in trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. You must be joking. You just said it only a moment ago. Dear me, you were clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing. Well, actually, Mr. Sholmes, I did hear you say that too. You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know. Not really. So, what were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. But anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed in my face. His sense of humor is as twisted as his name. Naruhodo-san, what are you just standing there for? Hmm? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well. Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? There's no way I can... Hi-ya! After Kazuma-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us a clue, you're willing to give up? You're just going to roll over and accept your fate? Ugh. As if you gave me any choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have investigation to finish off. Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door. Good idea. The situation doesn't look good for me, but there are still things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this, and bring the real culprit to justice. Is that... That's Hosonaga. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? No, it's just that crewman standing by the door. I can't help feeling like I've seen him somewhere before. Oh, yes, you're right. He does look familiar. Excuse me, sir. Yes? What can I do for you? I recognize that face, but it can't be. It is! I didn't know you were here, Inspector Hosonaga. Hello again. What are you doing here? I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped. Nearly stopped, I hope. I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of the crew and board this ship. Again? You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector. If there's anything I can do to help you, please ask. I never expected to see this man on board. Perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. Let's see. I think I want to cut it off there. We've been going for roughly an hour. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you on the next episode.